Hey everybody, Alex here with Momentum Charting. Welcome to a weekend edition of the show, and today we're going to be getting, again, kind of doing a part 4 on our series of SPRT. But before we do that, guys, if you would, just jump down below, subscribe to the channel. It is the only way to ensure you continue to get the updates on SPRT as well as all the other videos on every other stock I do in the stock market, broad markets, everything like that. Everything 100% unique to my channel here at Momentum Charting. It's going to be the only place you find this type of information anywhere on YouTube, I promise. Jump down below, subscribe. Thank you so much for doing that. So guys, this trade on SPRT, I don't know exactly where I'm going to go with this video. I just want to make a couple of key points and then maybe do a little bit of technical analysis on this thing, see where we're kind of at. But I just did this trade. I'm really glad that I was able to bring this series to you guys over the past few days. I mean, this trade has just been so incredible on so many different levels. It's illustrated so many key concepts, not only in my trading, but in concepts that you should definitely put and add into your trading as your careers go along, and definitely things you should implement into your own charting, your own ideas, your own trade analysis, everything like that moving forward. The concepts here have just been so good on this stock, and it illustrates a lot of key concepts. Yes, the concept of risk management, as we've talked about in the past before, very important, having a plan on your trade in place before you start executing trades, key levels to watch for, trend lines, support lines, everything like that. But it also illustrates really other key concepts. Guys, I'm so glad I was able to, kind of get an idea. Definitely the magnitude of this thing taking off, I really didn't know in advance that was going to happen. That would not be fair of me to say that. But I did see what was happening early enough where we were kind of getting involved in this stock in this area, right? In these areas here. And that does illustrate definitely another important concept. Guys, you as a trader, swing trader, short-term trader, momentum trader, day trader, whatever you want to call it, you always want to be the person that's getting involved in the stock in these areas down here, right? You want to be early on these things. And well, the reason why is pretty obvious. So how do you think the guys and gals are feeling right now that FOMO'd into this thing? What, up over 400% over the period of 2 or 3 days? They're FOMOing into this thing, end of day Friday, only to watch as their investment gets cut by, between 40 and 50% in less than an hour, right? So it illustrates some really, really important concepts, and we're going to go through some more of those as we kind of break down this video. But it just shows the importance. Guys, you want to be early on this type of stuff. You don't want to be the one who is FOMOing in on Friday afternoon, hoping to execute a trade on this hot stock, thinking definitely you're hearing the news, you're hearing this thing is quote-unquote going to gamma squeeze, it's going to go higher, it's going to go to 200, it's going to go to 1,000, whatever you're hearing. You don't want to be the person who's FOMOing in on Friday afternoon at noon, only to watch your investment crumble by 50% in the period of an hour. You want to be spotting this stuff early, right? So so it brings up that point. That's number one. Number two, another important point is it brings up the importance of how crucial it is and how amazing it is when you can get multiple time frames, multiple important time frames, right? Velocity time frames, momentum time frames lined up in your favor. Okay, so on SPRT as I've been watching the last few days. You can go back through my part 1, my part 2, my part 3 of the video, and I pointed this out in every single video. I pointed out all of our key time frames on the velocity were pushing up highly, which is the 1 day, right, the 4 hour, that 1 day and 4 hour are kind of our long-term time frames. But then when you have these also lower term time frames in cooperation, most notably the 1 hour, the 20-minute, and the 5-minute, but all of those were also just taking off to the upside, right? 1 hour, 20-minute, and then also you had this 5-minute, which was just also in cooperation. So guys, when you can get all of those things in your favor, right? And these are the types of stocks you want to watch for. Now, am I saying that this trade in SPRT right now, guys, is finished, is over? 100%, 110%. I am not saying that this trade in SPRT is over, okay? But, and that brings also up another crucial point that I wanted to bring up, which is that a lot of times, you know, these moves in these markets, these super hot stocks, you know, even aside from like penny stocks and stuff like that, where you have these big pump and dumps, a lot of times the stuff on, you know, NASDAQ, really broad markets, NYSE, all that stuff aren't pump and dump, but they do have these moments in time where if you aren't in early on the stock and you happen to miss the move and you're thinking, and these stocks come crashing back to earth, and you're thinking in your mind, well, you're going to get another chance. Guys, a lot of times it just doesn't work out that way, right? How long now has the market been anticipating and waiting for instance, on GameStop, a return to the action that was happening back in January, right? And yes, it's had some okay moves between when I peaked, like end of January, and it's had some minor run-ups, but they've been lessening and lessening and lessening, and people have been just waiting for that return to that euphoria of that move in January, and it just hasn't been there, right? It just hasn't been there. So that kind of, again, illustrates this point, guys. Sometimes on these stocks, when you get these moves, you know, this type of trade setup here, positioned in correctly, right? I'm talking shares and short-term options. As I mentioned back 2 videos ago, there are a few different option chains. The ones that I was using was like the October 17th, and there were some even shorter ones. I believe there were also some available for September. But if you're positioned in correctly in advance, right? Not on Friday afternoon after a stock's already gone up 400% in 2 or 3 days. I'm talking about if you're getting positioned into charts like this in advance with a high degree of potential. Guys, trades like this, they can literally, and I'm not exaggerating on this, trades like this can literally make your entire year in the period of less than a week, okay? If you're positioned correctly, if you're in the right stock, if you're kind of seeing in advance what's happening in a stock, and again, you've got a plan to mitigate risk, you're setting your trend lines, you're setting your stop losses, all that important stuff that I've talked about many, many times in other videos. But these types of trades, guys, they can make your entire year in the period of a few days if you're cognizant in advance of what's happening. So, again, so many crucial concepts, such a great trade. I mean, we're going to talk about a few more concepts on this trade on SPRT, but again, is this trade on SPRT over? I don't know, guys. I do not know. There is definitely a chance. There are a lot of things on this chart that look like they could continue pushing higher, but a lot of times, guys, that's how the market fools you into thinking there's going to be a continuation of these types of moves. I mean, yeah, a lot of the longer term time frames, as I just showed a second ago on this velocity, still pushing up to the upside hard, but you know, it's more than possible, guys. I saw that SPRT was up again pretty heavily again after hours to the tune of maybe somewhere between 15 and 20%. So it's possible, guys, that over the course of the next days and weeks, we get some push back up to the upside, something like this. But then, this trade that was here for the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday just disappears, and we start, you get a bounce back, and then this stock just fades into obscurity, and we end up here stuck in a range between, say, $14 and $35 for the next year, maybe 2 years, until the next trade setup happens. And am I saying that that's going to happen? No, I am not saying that, because there are a lot of indicators on this trade right now that look potentially to me that could still be setting up for another massive push to the upside. But can we count on that? Absolutely 100% not. This sell-off, guys, was freaking brutal, right? In a period of an hour, we went from something on the day like 75% up on the day, all the way retraced back to something all the way down to 20% up. And just, sometimes when you get these big sell-offs like this, it takes it some time, right, for the dust to clear here. We need to see on this 2-hour RSI, we need to see these levels here at around 65 hold. What we don't want to see is this thing to come down here, have another kind of fake spike off, and then just drop below these levels. And that would most likely indicate price action that was going to be doing something like we talked about, where we start ranging in an area between 38 and 14 maybe for the next 5 or 6 months until this trade potentially sets up again. So we need to see a strong push back to the upside on SPRT from these levels. On the DRSI, on the 10-minute chart, we do not, guys, this is what I was talking to you guys about on our last update video, Thursday night, Friday morning, whatever it was. I was talking about these different degrees of trend lines here, right? And I was talking about the 4th degree trend line on a 10-minute time frame. And this is what I was talking about here, was this trend line here. I'll increase the pixel size on that just so you can see it a little bit better. But this is what I was talking about with my 4th degree. I had 1, 2, 3, and you could see here this 4th one. And this was the area on Thursday, Friday that I was talking about. I didn't want to see this 4th degree trend line break to the downside. So guys, definitely, in order to keep the momentum on this trade going, we want this trend line here on this 10-minute to hold, right? We don't want to see this thing. I'm not confident at all in that post-market move we had on Friday, something up 20% after market. This is what we don't want to see, is this thing to spike up again on Monday, fade throughout the day, and then over the next couple days, just come down here, right? Come down here and break this key trend line that I think is really important for us to hold if we want to see the next move on SPRT happen. Now, if what we do have happen is that this thing spikes up on Monday and consolidates in a sideways fashion here for a couple of days, maybe a little up, a little bit down, and somehow we catch this 4th degree trend line on a 10-minute time frame and start moving higher, and that in conjunction with a move back to the upside, a strong move in the DRSI, and a strong move back to the upside in our 1-hour momentum. You guys can see here on a 1 hour how we are getting this negative move now. 30 minutes, same thing, starting to push down to the downside. And again, all this stuff is going to be really interesting to watch now that the this trade has been such a hot trade, especially on Friday. It's really in the public consciousness, so it's going to be very interesting to see how this develops. But just be careful, guys. Like I was saying, sometimes these moves on these stocks are a very special moment in time in a stock. People waiting and waiting and waiting for these things to return to the excitement, the euphoria of the moves that happen in the last few days, and it just never materializes, right? So I want you guys to be very, very careful. I want you guys to exercise extreme cautiousness, extreme risk management on this trade. I'm going to be definitely updating you guys with, Monday's market action, Tuesday. We'll continue this series on SPRT. I just think that this trade setup has been so important. I'm glad we kind of latched onto it early in this series. I was kind of giving you guys some of my trade setups, where I'm at in my head, where I'm thinking on this trade. I'm really glad I was able to get on this a little bit early for you guys and show you guys the thinking I have on these short-term trades. And again, is the trade on SPRT over? Guys, I don't know. I'm going to be watching this closely. In order to follow along, see Monday's update, Tuesday's update. We'll see how long I do this. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. But I'm going to be watching this closely. So we're going to want to see some kind of a move. If not, I don't know. I guess it's possible here, right? It's possible. I mean, the momentum and the velocity of this chart right now are still at extreme levels, guys. I mean, the velocity, like I was showing you guys here on, for instance, like a daily and 4-hour time frame, 1-hour time frame, still pushing up hard, but guys, you need the cooperation also of the short-term time frames. As I've explained many times to you, in order, the shortest term time frames are what drives the long-term time frames. So in order for this velocity and the momentum to continue up on these time frames, 1 hour, 4 hour, 2 hour, we need to have the cooperation of the shorter term time frames, the 20 minutes, the 10 minutes, the 5 minutes. So that's the stuff I'm going to be watching for. But if we are able to push up again from these levels, say for instance on the 30-minute time frame, and break these levels here, guys, this is going to, I don't even I don't even know where the potential of this thing is going to be, and there's still big volume coming in. I think it was like 160 million shares on Friday. But if we're able to come here and get some sort of a rounded bottom on SPRT and get momentum that's starting to push back above these levels here of the highs of Friday around 29 or so, this thing is going to take off back to the upside in a monstrous way. Who knows where we could go from there? But so we're going to want to watch for all this stuff. So the other thing that could happen, like I was saying on this time frame here, is that somehow we end up getting like a almost like a 5th degree, right? Which would be close to my max that I would ever expect on a 10-minute time frame. So it's possible here that the lows were in on Friday, right? We get this bounce up on Monday, some consolidation, and then like we set up a 5th degree 10-minute time frame, and we just start working higher from these levels. So guys, that is definitely a possibility. But we're going to need to see this momentum on a 30-minute and a 1-hour time frame. Guys, if we are able to break these, have this momentum on a 1-hour time frame, come here. We're at such high levels right now. If we're able to come up here and break this, like on a 30-minute and 1-hour time frame, this thing is going to continue in a massive way to the upside, and I'm going to be a part of it. I hope you are too. But again, we need the cooperation of all the shorter term time frames in order for this very specific thing to happen, right? We're going to be watching the 2-hour DRSI, going to be watching the 1 hour, the 30-minute momentum, going to be watching the 4th term trend line in place here on a 10-minute time frame that's already in place here. This one here that I've made a little bit a larger degree so it's easier for you guys to see. So we want to watch this to see if we have a reaction or if we in fact get a 5th degree 10-minute trend line in place, carrying this thing higher. On the velocity, on the short-term time frame, let me go down here to the 2-minute, open this panel back up. So you guys can see here on a 2-minute time frame, this velocity topping pattern here, Friday, right? End of day around noon. This is when prices started tanking. What we want to have happen here is, you know, some sort of consolidation, and then this 2-minute, the velocity to start pushing to the upside again here on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, something like this. Is going to be another aspect of this chart that I'm going to be watching carefully. Okay, so I'm going to be watching all these short-term time frames, all these mid-term time frames, everything in between, to see if we can get another push to the upside in SPRT. Just because if we do, guys, this thing is going to set up another monstrous trading opportunity. But again, we need to exercise an extreme amount of caution, extreme amount of risk management on the shorter term time frames. All these moving averages, the 125, the 200, all starting to push down now. We need to watch this. We need to be really careful. And this was the one of the last things I wanted to show you guys. I set this on a 3-minute/5-minute time frame. They both ended up being basically exactly the same thing. Let me see if I can zoom in on this. So as you guys know, I like to set these trend lines, and I always have them as dynamic, especially on a day where you're getting big moves up in a market. You always want to be very careful where you're way moved away from your magnetic trend line. To me, that would be this 4th degree 10-minute trend line. So you could very clear, there was a lot of evidence, right, Friday, that this chart was breaking down and it was time to be out of this trade if you weren't already out somewhere after, you know, early in the day or middle of the day, something like that. But there was ample evidence, guys, that this trade was breaking down. You can see this 5-minute, really nice. You had all these touch points. You had one here on 7:27 in the morning. You had 8 in the morning. You had 8:30 in the morning. You had 8:51 in the morning. And this trend line on this 5-minute time frame had been respected all throughout the day. And then right here around 11:20, 11:30 in the morning, this trend line on a 5-minute time frame started breaching to the downside. This was the indication that if you were already not out of the trade, you wanted to be out. And also, that wasn't the only indication. Let's go to the 10-minute DRSI. This is another trend line I had set in place here. I'll show this to you guys here. Set our trend line here on a 10-minute time frame. You guys could see here this momentum on this RSI is starting to wane a bit here. You got a lower high. You had a higher high here, and then this lower high with prices peaking around $57. And then you had this lower high here around 10 in the morning. But then the crucial point was you got this 10-minute trend line here breaking to the downside right here, right? So this was all stuff I was watching on Friday, trying to see if there was another potential trade setup, even a trade setup inside a trade setup inside a trade setup, right? All crucial stuff you want to watch. But you could see this trend line starting to breach to the downside on the DRSI. This 5-minute trend line I had set in place here all starting to break down. These were all indicators of, on a short-term time frame, this trade was done. It was time to let the dust settle and clear and see what was going to happen the rest of the day in the next few days. So guys, that's what I'm going to be watching for. I really hope you've enjoyed not only this video, but this entire trading series on SPRT we've been involved in the last few days. As I said before, I'm going to continue Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, as long as it takes. If we start getting price action, guys, that starts breaking this 4th degree and starts breaking down into these areas here in the 20s and 24s, breaching our crucial short-term time frame uptrends, I'm going to be stopping this series, because at that point I'm going to be pretty confident that the trade is over for now. But as long as we can keep above these trend lines, I'm going to keep coming out with this series. So you're going to want to make sure to subscribe down below. Guys, thank you so much for joining me in this video. Again, hope you enjoyed part 4. Let's hit part 5 and part 6 in a big way. Let's hope that this trade continues and we continue to get some big moves to the upside. I'm really rooting for this stock, guys. I'm hoping we blast past these all-time highs here on Friday. God, what did we get up to? All the way up to almost $60. So again, if we can get some cooperation from this 1 hour momentum and the DRSI on a 2-hour time frame, guys, that's exactly what's going to happen. We're going to blast to 60 and well above that if we can get some cooperation. So you're not going to want to miss that if indeed that does happen. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I will see everybody again in the next update, Monday, Tuesday. Yeah, let's just keep this video series going strong, guys. Thank you so much for watching. See everybody again soon. Bye for now.